Hello, everyone. Welcome to Credential Up Houston, a show that focuses on the power, the influence, the opportunity, and yes, even the wealth that can come from credentialing up. We are so delighted that students and their chaperones from the Meyerland Performing and Visual Arts Middle School has joined us today. They're located here in Houston, Texas. They are an exemplary national blue ribbon school, and we are very pleased that they are here, and Vinnie Alt, their liaison with the school. My name is Margaret Ford Fisher, and I'd like to ask you a question. Do you know someone who is autistic? We'll ask them to tune in to the show today. And if you are an educator, this program will be of particular interest to you as well. According to recent reports, there is a growing population of students with autism spectrum disorders. There are also reports of adults with autism who are often undiagnosed and untreated well. We will discuss the subject today with a focus on how to detect autism and the intervention strategies that educational institutions can use to promote greater student success. Our guests today are Ms. Kally Luck, Program Manager, University of Houston Clear Lake Center for Autism and Developmental Disabilities, and Ms. Marisa Goodwin, Program Coordinator, Connecting to College, University of Houston Clear Lake Center for Autism and Developmental Disabilities. Thank you both very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here.
Oh, delighted. And of course, you know, with autism being a growing number of students with it, we'd like to first begin with the definition of autism and autism spectrum disorders. Ms. Luck.
So autism spectrum disorder is a developmental disability that affects people in a wide spectrum. It's a spectrum for a reason, right? And so we have some people who are on one side of the spectrum where they might be similar to somebody with intellectual disability. So there's a very strong deficit in communication. They're not able to express their wants and needs. And then we might have somebody on the exact opposite of the spectrum where they have a very large deficit with social skills. But they're able to express their wants and needs maybe vocally, but they're not able to pick up on the intricacies of our society and social skills that we have.
So we're looking at autism on one end of the spectrum, and then we have the behavioral disorders. Then, of course, we have Asperger's as well as a part of it. Is that correct?
So the DSM actually modified their definition recently, and now I believe that it's in 3 different categories.
Yeah, so there's 3 levels of severity. Level 1 being more high functioning, which would categorize the people who were diagnosed with Asperger's prior. And then level 2 is mid functioning, and then level 3 is that lower functioning.
Okay, so tell us, what is Asperger's? What are some of the indications of that?
So Asperger's, or level 1 ASD, is a neurological disorder that affects communication. So what you may see is that they don't really know how to express themselves, or it also affects social skills, as Kally was saying. So maybe they don't pick up on cues that you're bored or frustrated, or they don't really know how to interact, so it might seem awkward, or they may seem very blunt or very honest and go off on long monologues about their favorite topics, and they may not pick up on the fact that you're not interested in that.
So what is the incidence? What's the number? Do you have any numbers that we can really hang our head on to say that this is the number of individuals to substantiate that there's a growing population of autistic young people?
Yeah, there's right now the CDC has it 1 in 59 children have autism, and then that kind of equates to 3.5 million individuals in the U.S.
And these are young people who have been diagnosed, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so there could very well be a higher incidence of that because there are individuals who are undiagnosed.
Correct.
So now with the adults who are autistic as well, I understand that some of them are undiagnosed and then they're in the workplace as well. So tell us just a bit about that, Ms. Luck.
So there is such a growing population, and what people don't realize is, well, they realize it, but it's not very obvious. So kids with autism become adults with autism, and as that population is growing, we have more and more need for adults with autism to receive services. So at the Center for Autism and Developmental Disabilities, we do have a vocational clinic that works with adults with autism to increase their social skills while they're working. Because what we've found looking at the research is individuals with intellectual disability or other developmental disabilities, they are able to find work and keep that job longer than individuals with autism. And one of the common reasons that people think that individuals with autism aren't able to uphold that job is because they're missing those critical social skills. And so at the clinic that focuses on vocational skills, they're actually focusing on imperative social skills for jobs that we don't think about, we just know on our own and have taught by social contingencies, to be back from break on time, to ask for help when you're not sure how to do something, to problem solve when you might be able to figure out on your own how to solve the issue instead of going to your supervisor every time.
So those are some of the areas that are lacking. So some of the social skills would be, for example, being a team player, I would presume, being able to interact with others, being able to carry on a conversation. So Ms. Goodwin, tell us just a bit more about that.
Yeah, so a lot of the times with the students that I work with, they are adults, and so what I see is that they don't really know how to interact. They don't know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, and so I need to break it down sometimes, you know, why is this appropriate, why is this not appropriate, because they haven't gotten that specific training, whereas we just kind of learned it. Just no one had to directly teach it, we just learned it throughout our lives. So they need more specific teaching and for me to be very explicit rather than implicit with the rules of, the unspoken rules of society.
So that is critical, the unspoken rules of society. And you know, what I'm reading, and you can confirm this, is that frequently if a parent is autistic, it's very likely that one of the children might become autistic as well. And so we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But what I'd like to do is for us to go to a break. We'll come back, we'll discuss that. We'll talk about the practice and the implementation of intervention strategies at colleges, universities, and schools generally in order to serve the autistic student population. We'll be right back.
HCC. So many reasons, so little tuition. Register today at hccs.edu/now.
HCC's online college is officially open. This not only means online classes, but also online degrees and certificates. You can now credential up anytime, anywhere. Join the fast-growing number of students getting their full college education from anywhere they use a laptop. HCC currently offers 32 fully online degrees and will offer 71 next year. You no longer have to find a way or time to get to college. HCC brings college to you.
I've seen people's lives change just by attending a class at HCC.
Some of them might not have the financial means to go to a four-year university. That doesn't make them any less quote-unquote smart than the kids who go to a four-year school.
HCC is easy to get to. It's easy to apply and easy to become a part of.
It gave me so much confidence.
Once you finish your 2 years there, you can transition into a four-year university or go into the workforce.
It's affordable, it's accessible, it changes lives.
Welcome back to Credential Up Houston. Today we're focusing on autism spectrum disorders. And we're delighted to welcome to this segment Ms. Sue Moraska, Program Director of the VAST Academy with the Houston Community College. And she is joining our guests from the University of Houston, Clear Lake, Ms. Marisa Goodwin and Ms. Kally. We are so delighted to have this conversation to clarify information about autism spectrum disorders and what schools, educational institutions can do to more effectively serve students. And what I'd like to do is to go to you, Ms. Moraska, to tell us about your program, the VAST Academy here at the Houston Community College, and also tell us about that acronym and what that stands for, please.
Okay. Thank you for having me. The VAST Academy stands for Vocational Advancement and Skills Training. And our VAST Academy serves students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And that encompasses, of course, students with cognitive disabilities or delays, as well as the developmental part would include those on the spectrum, those with autism and those on the spectrum. And we're under the Workforce Division of Continuing Education, and we are a transition program that transitions students we help give them those supports that they need to move into the different pathways, the different programs throughout the college. Whatever their career goal is, we want to assist them with that. But we have our own continuing ed certificate that our students achieve. It's a comprehensive program. It takes 2 years to complete. And in the program itself, we have courses that work on social skills and work on independent living skills and financial literacy, computer literacy. But I think those that are on the spectrum, those with autism that choose to come to our program, the reason they come is because we are able to work on those social skills and communication and language.
Which social skills do you find to be most in need in your program?
Sometimes it's just communicating with peers, understanding. There's nonverbal communication sometimes that comes out. There's repetitive behaviors perhaps that could be somewhat disruptive in a classroom setting, but we can identify those and help work with them on those. But I think just having that chance to come and work on some of these naturally, whether it's in the classroom, but also we have a student organization called the Eagles Club, and we partner with other organizations on campus, so they have that experience, interacting not only with our students in the VAST Academy, but also with other students on campus. And I think that interaction with other students on campus is really important.
And so that's important to provide the young people and the adults with the skill set that is necessary to live a quality-filled life or to go into the workforce. So with the University of Houston Clear Lake, you have the Connecting to College program. Tell us just a bit about that.
Yeah, so the Connecting to College program is for students that have been admitted to the university on their own merit. And they come to me and I help them connect with the other resources that are available for all students. And then I can also provide individualized support, which consists of mainly working with applied behavior analysis, which is what I've studied and what Kally has studied, to build up the skills that they need to be successful in college.
Okay, and so we know what some of those skills are, of course, but I'd like for you to talk about some of those skills that you focus on, Ms. Luck, specifically in terms of the success in college that we are preparing the students for.
Sure. So I think Marisa might be a better person to talk about that because I actually don't work in the Connecting to College program.
That's fine. But time management, it would seem to me, would certainly be one of the areas that you would want to focus. Ms. Goodwin?
Yeah, time management is a big issue with some of the students that I see. They're not turning in their work on time. They don't really know how to manage big projects and group projects. So figuring out how to schedule their day so that they're getting everything in and done and on time is crucial, because it's a very big jump from high school to college. In high school, you have to go to class every day. Somebody's kind of there to assist you all the time. In college, it's not like that. In college, you have classes a couple hours, a couple days a week. You don't necessarily have to go. No one's there to really hold your hand and check in on you to make sure that you're getting your work done.
So I presume that you find that as well.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
Time management, organizational skills. We have to work on that with our students with intellectual and those with autism. And I think that once they get that, sometimes there are students though on the spectrum where they're used to being on a schedule and everything is so precise, And then, so we have to work with them on being flexible, because sometimes schedules change and sometimes things change, and that can cause someone, you know, with these types of disabilities to become upset and anxious and have some anxiety if the schedule changes. So we have to work with them a little bit on understanding that, you know, sometimes schedules change and to be flexible.
In the regular college classrooms, I understand that there might be some of the same types of developments with respect to behavioral issues, communication issues, and so forth among some of the students. And of course, it becomes problematic, but I presume that students have to self-identify in order for those specific services to be provided. Is that correct? Ms. Luck?
Yes, they would have to self-identify. One of the things that Marisa provides to faculty at the University of Houston Clear Lake is actually training on how to work with those students and how to best help them in their classroom, so that maybe they could see that a student is having difficulty and maybe they haven't necessarily self-identified, but they can apply some of those strategies to all of their students, really, because it's just going to help them be more successful in their classrooms.
Okay, that's very good information to have. So what we want to do is to take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about how we now train across the board, faculty, staff, students, not just those who are in the Connecting to College or the VAST program, but others as well who want to provide the best possible teaching and counseling for our students. So we're going to take a break.
HCC. So many classes, so little tuition. Register today at hccs.edu/now.
One of the objectives we had with moving from centers of delivery to centers of excellence was to strengthen our relationships with industry across Houston. The whole idea of the Center of Excellence was to create an ecosystem where our partnerships are so tight that we can quickly develop programs that support industry, create jobs here in Houston, and then grow the economy and keep us as a global leader in many areas.
HCC. So many locations, so little tuition. Register today at hccs.edu/now.
Welcome back to Credential Up Houston. We are talking today with Ms. Sue Moraska, Ms. Marisa Goodwin, Ms. Kally about autism, spectrum disorders, and other learning disabilities. And so we are delighted that you're back with us for this segment because it's really critically important. We were talking about students self-identifying, but we know that in some of the regular classrooms, academic and workforce, there could very well be students who've not been diagnosed, and they might have similar behaviors. So the question is whether or not the faculty members, the counselors, the advisors understand what those symptoms are and how to effectively intervene and work with the students. So tell us, what is the solution to that? Obviously, training is going to be critically important because it could very well be that if they've not been diagnosed, they don't know what some of the issues are. So I understand that at the University of Houston, you have training for all faculty. So tell us about that with the Connecting to College program.
Sure. So what we do twice a semester, I offer a training. So one training for students and then one training for faculty and staff, where we talk about what autism is, what kind of challenges and strengths an individual with autism may experience, and then what they can do to help. So as students, how they can provide support, and then as faculty and staff, how they can provide support and kind of help the student navigate the situation a little easier. And then at these trainings, we call them Autism Allies trainings, and the individuals that do come to the trainings can identify themselves as autism allies after the training. We give them a little sticker, and it's kind of a signal to our students with autism that this is a safe place. Like, they've gone through the training, they know a little bit more about what they're going through, so this might be someone that understands, and
Yes.
it is available for, you know, some feedback, guidance.
Yes, of course. I was reading an article about a lady, 34 years old, who was diagnosed with autism. And she said she was so relieved when she got the diagnosis because she had wondered why she behaved as she did over all of those many years. And once she got the diagnosis, she understood and she felt a whole lot better about herself. So are you finding that to be kind of like a transformation for individuals who, once they are diagnosed, they seem to have a greater self-esteem, greater self-confidence? What are your thoughts, Ms. Luck?
That could help them so that they do have that understanding of why they might feel different from everybody else, or why some things come so easily to other people and not for them. But for me, the population that I work with is they're always diagnosed with autism, because in order to receive the services at my clinic, they have to have that diagnosis of autism.
And I guess you haven't heard any anecdotal stories about once they were diagnosed, how it made a difference for them. So with the test, the diagnosis, what does that entail? Where would a person who's questioning whether or not they have autism spectrum disorders go for a test in order to get results? Ms. Goodwin or Ms. Moraska?
So I'm not sure. So I work more with the behaviors and
Okay.
after they've been diagnosed. One thing that I do see is that students don't typically like to disclose their disability to other people, even if they have been diagnosed. So there's psychological services at our university that can provide testing. But even after they've gotten that diagnosis, or if they come in and they already know that they have autism, they're not as willing to disclose their disability to others.
Sure, absolutely. And as I understand it, there are clinics that are available that will test and that will provide the diagnosis. And as I was looking at the University of Houston, I saw a number of the services that you do provide as well, which is really quite commendable across the board. Stages 1, 2, 3, I think through 5. Which provided that support for students, for the community. You do research and so forth. So, Ms. Moraska, with your students, let's talk about the success. And then I'd like to talk about recommendations that you would like to make.
Well, we find that the students that we get in VAST Academy that have autism, it's a broad range as well, but many of them will have moved on successfully to college, other college programs of their, depending on their interest and abilities. Some have even gotten associate degrees, but we would like to see more supports other than just VAST to assist, or we would like to maybe see what we can do more in VAST in a formal way to offer those like peer mentors, for example, because we've done some mentoring in the past with Phi Theta Kappa and the Honors College and other small, groups. But if there was a more formalized program so that these students all could get a mentor, a coach. I love the term you use, the autism allies.
Yes.
I think that really is important because we become like an autism ally, VAST, our team. So when these students go on, they come back to see us, Ms. Sue, Ms. Anna, we have counselors and social workers that work in our department. So we're there as a support for them. But I think the peer, when you have someone, that's trained, peer mentors, and also faculty that understand, that will make it a lot easier,
It certainly will.
To be successful. Mm-hmm.
So, Ms. Luck, recommendation
For
your center and for serving students much more effectively who have
So
autism.
in general, as soon as an individual gets a diagnosis, whatever the age they're at, seek services. Because the sooner you receive services, the more beneficial they're going to be. So whether they're 2 years old or 52 years old, that's just going to be beneficial. And once you have that diagnosis, more services actually become available.
That's very, very good. And so in about 10 seconds, Ms. Goodwin, recommendation?
I would say, especially for students in college, if you're needing help and may not even have a diagnosis, go seek the services that are already available. So maybe tutoring, academic coaching, counseling.
Excellent. Well, great. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to go to the audience for questions. So stay with us.
HCC. So many careers, so little tuition. Register today at hccs.edu/now.
HCC's online college is officially open. This not only means online classes, but also online degrees and certificates. You can now credential up anytime, anywhere. Join the fast-growing number of students getting their full college education from anywhere they use a laptop. HCC currently offers 32 fully online degrees and will offer 71 next year. You no longer have to find a way or time to get to college. HCC brings college to you.
HCC. So many ways to learn, so little tuition. Register today at hccs.edu/now.
Welcome back to Credential Up Houston. We'll now go to Oliva Romero, and she will facilitate questions from the floor.
Hi, we have Ariel here with us today. She has a question about autism. What's your question, Ariel?
How do you help people with autism mentally prepare themselves for jobs that have a lot of communication, that need a lot of communication?
So what I like to do, rather than just talk about it, I like to practice. So whatever the situation may be in the workplace, we'll sit and we'll role play the skill until they feel comfortable, until they're doing it at a level of mastery.
Nedrick is here. What's your question?
What careers are available for students with autism after attending your programs?
That's a great question, because Houston Community College has so many wonderful careers, workforce in particular. I know what's really hot right now, of course, is technology, robotics, animation. Those are some of the popular programs that we're finding our students wanting to go into, gaming, but I think that the business technology or instructional technology. This summer we were able to have a STEM camp where we partnered with our continuing ed IT department, and they built a PC in 1 week. They built three computers. So I think technology in the areas of technology, but I think there are so many careers.
What's your question, Robert?
What advice would you give to those who are interested in pursuing a job in helping people with autism?
I am a board-certified behavior analyst. I work with kids with autism, so I run a clinic for kids that are ages 3 to 15, and we use applied behavior analysis to make socially significant changes in their behavior. But there's so much more that you can do, like Marisa, who is working with adults with autism and helping them navigate college life. So there's a lot of different opportunities, and the University of Houston Clear Lake actually has a master's program in behavior analysis. So if you're interested in working with individuals with autism, behavior analysis is a great area to look into for education.
Very good. And great questions as well from the students in the audience. Well, this has been very, very informative, and I thank you all very much for joining us, because I'm sure this information that you have shared will help quite a number of persons with autism as well as others. So I would like to thank Ms. Kally for joining us today, Program Manager, University of Houston with the Clear Lake Center for Autism and Developmental Disabilities, Ms. Marisa Goodwin, who is the Program Coordinator Connecting to College with the Clear Lake Center for Autism and Developmental Disabilities, and Ms. Sue Moraska, who is the Program Director for the VAST Academy here at the Houston Community College. Excellent information. And we'd like to thank you also very much for joining us, and certainly our studio audience guests today. We'd like to keep you with one thought in mind after every program, and that is, no matter the circumstances, we want you to remember that it's very important to credential up. So thank you very much for joining us today.